Wait, hold on, I want a quick fit check. So, orange is my favorite color, but I always worry that, like, orange just isn't a color I should wear. I'm back and forth on it. I'm not... And I also got this, so you could see it. I got this little butterfly clip today at the Dollar Tree. Every couple months or so, the community is reminded about how upset they are over being told GG. And it's not just Unite either. Recently, we've seen the controversy come up in the TCG community as well. And I mean, I feel like every time we have this discussion, I learn of a brand new justification for why you shouldn't or should be allowed to say GG to an opponent. So let's talk about it. And as usual, I'm going to talk in depth about the topic at hand and work in some research-based explanations for something that seems so simple becoming such a topic of disagreement across communities. GG stands for good girl, stands for gaming guy, stands for grape juice, stands for goofy goober. GG stands for good game. And it was popularized pretty instantaneously in online gaming in the late 1990s and early 2000s. That's when I was born. It's often used by players to express sportsmanship, acknowledgement of an opponent's efforts, or for one player to admit defeat to another player. One of the most interesting things about GG is that language doesn't matter, as gamers who speak all languages have come to understand the contextualization of the term. So it's a way that we can communicate with each other about the games we're playing regardless of the language we speak. Another interesting thing is that GG has evolved beyond gaming, often just used in everyday life to acknowledge an achievement. I'm a professor, and I've ended class discussions often with GG, or dismissed class by saying, okay, GG, see you next time. For me, I feel like it's just a good way to signify a positive end to something. For most of us, GG is a positive expression and perceived as sportsmanlike. However, using GG can be deemed inappropriate in some cases because it's viewed as disrespectful and unsportsmanlike, especially if the game itself wasn't a good demonstration of skill. In many gaming communities, a series of unwritten rules have been developed regarding the etiquette surrounding GG, and it's up to you to decide if these rules make sense to you or not. Now, not all of these unwritten rules apply to every person you may game with, but many of us select which rules we like the best and determine that these are law. The 10 commandments of GG are as follows. 1 must only say GG if they lose. 1 must only say GG if the game was in fact good. 1 must never say GG to mean get wrecked. 1 must never say GG to conceal a ploy for recognition. 1 must never say GG if the opponent seems like it may be possible that they're in a bad mood. One's use of GG should be pure, never containing negative sentiments such as GG but we should have won. 1 must only say GG after the game has come to a definitive end, rather than a preemptive GG. 1 must never say GG after portraying unsportsmanlike conduct throughout the duration of the game. In the specific context of streaming a game, 1 must never say GG as a first-time chat. Finally, the 10th commandment. In the specific context of multiplayer games, 1 must never say GG to a player they ego-targeted all game. That's a lot of rules to remember, and honestly, there are more I could have come up with. My cats are having an argument. But every time I have witnessed the GG crash-outs throughout gaming communities, I feel like it starts because of the breaking of one of these commandments. Now, obviously, I'm being sarcastic, and it's pretty clear what side of the conversation I'm on. By the way, I'm clearly making fun of people who have such ridiculous stipulations for the use of something that's supposed to demonstrate sportsmanship, but let me backtrack and defend this other side for a moment. Most of my experience with the GG controversy has existed within the Pokemon Unite space, and mostly it comes up when a streamer gets angry at a viewer for entering the chat to say GG. And as a streamer myself, it's really hard to tell whether a viewer saying GG was participating in sportsmanlike conduct or not. We don't know what the viewer's intentions were. Were they stream sniping all game? Were they ego ulting? Do they care about my content, or are they just coming here to flame me? And from behind a screen, from the protection of the Twitch chat, it is very easy for someone with negative intentions with the purpose of getting under the streamer's skin to show up and be annoying. For me, I don't really care. I always answer GGs with positivity. I have a GG emote in my chat of my cat that I throw out every time someone comes in to say GG, because it's easier for me to mentally assume positive intentions rather than negative intentions. I'm also a small streamer, so I don't really care if someone's just trying to be recognized by me. Plus, from my perspective, someone showing up in my chat after they've had a great game is probably feeling pretty good. And even if I'm feeling bad, I feel like that viewer may want to stick around and engage with my content if I were to be nice to them. If the viewer's intentions are genuine, and they show up to GG me in chat, and then I'm like, oh wow, yeah, GG, like, you crushed us. You know, great work. That probably makes them feel amazing, and maybe they want to stick around and be part of the community. I honestly might have made their entire day better. If the viewer's intentions are not genuine and generally negative and I react the same way, that just doesn't really matter to me. If they're negative and aren't really interested in anything besides flaming me, they probably won't stick around or be part of my community anyway, and I wouldn't really want them to. So for me, it's really a no-brainer to react to GG with positivity and acknowledgement regardless of the situation, because the risk of someone sucking is just generally outweighed by the probability of them being genuine. We have come to the statistical portion of today's video, because what this demonstrates is a statistical phenomenon known as error. There are two types of error in statistics that we need to be concerned with, type 1 error and type 2 error. And I made you a little chart, assuming that if we reject the null hypothesis and assume that the GGer has bad intentions, but they are actually good, we get a case of type 1 error, also known as a false positive. If we just go with our initial hypothesis and assume the GGer has good intentions, but they are actually bad, we get a case of type 2 error, also known as a false negative. It's a case-by-case basis for which type of error is worse, so it comes down to, would you rather a false positive or a false negative? In statistics, this helps us determine how much of a statistical difference we need to be able to reject the null hypothesis in the first place. Basically, what percentage of a chance do we need for type 1 error? In my field, we use 5% because we want to limit the chance for that type 1 error as much as possible. But in some fields, they use higher numbers because a false negative might be worse. Like, for example, if you're developing a new COVID test, you might want to leave a little more room for a false positive because it's better to think you have COVID when you don't than to think you don't have COVID when you actually do. But in this case, the GG after a game case, a false positive is the worst out of these options because on the off chance that you assume the intentions are bad when they're actually good, it causes more damage to the person the bad reaction is to be directed at. If it's a false negative and you react fine and the intentions were bad, it's not really going to affect that person negatively. Actually, you would kind of hope that it does and maybe they feel a little bit bad about it. But I'm also coming at this from the ethical perspective of consequentialism, specifically utilitarianism, which is ruled by the guiding principle of do the most good for the most people. This perspective focuses on consequences rather than the intention. Is the outcome associated with the decision considered a good outcome? I align myself with consequentialism in this case because it makes me feel like a better person. It doesn't matter if the actions were bad, since the outcome of me radiating positivity is generally a good outcome. I feel good, the vibes in my stream remain good, my community feels good, and the person that came in initially with bad intentions also probably feels good. But that's my personal perspective, so it's important that I also talk about the opposite perspective. The competing ethical theory of consequentialism is deontology, based on the guiding principle that if someone acts based on what they believe is morally right, it doesn't matter what the consequences of it are. I actually align myself with deontology in a lot of social issues, especially in the cases of injustice towards specific groups of people. For example, many protesters are often arrested in the United States standing up for causes like Black liberation, LGBTQ rights, and foreign affairs, because the government views their actions as illegal, but many believe their actions are still morally upheld regardless of the law. I have that perspective towards things like that. That is considered a deontological perspective. One's negative reaction toward GG may come from a perspective of their belief of moral righteousness and act as an example for good sportsmanship. If a few people with actual good intentions get hurt by a bad reaction from the use of GG, that's okay because it's teaching gamers and viewers better sportsmanship and ethics, and also how to follow the rules of proper etiquette when interacting with people. I find that this perspective is more likely to be adopted by full-time streamers, content creators, and gamers because this is their livelihood. They make their money and uphold their lifestyle through gaming. and they deserve to curate a community that upholds their personal moral standards because it matters so much more for their personal way of life. So regardless of what side you're on, it's important to understand that people's communities are their own, and their What are you doing? I don't know what he's looking at. So, regardless of what side you're on, it's important to understand that people's communities are their own, and the perspective and the choices they make about their own community will always outweigh the opinions you have about how they should act. We've talked about ethics and community building in relation to this concept, but there's a lot of psychological and educational theory that can help us explain how these evolutions in ethical considerations have gotten to the point we see them at today. One thing I've seen come up in my field of engineering education, of which I am a doctor in, is the idea of communities of practice, which many gaming communities can be classified as. Basically, a community of practice develops around shared passions and consistent interaction, leading to shared practice, including behaviors and even language. Online gaming communities can often be considered communities of practice because they are constantly learning information, improving at the game, meeting other people and gaming with those people, and developing both online and in-game behaviors. As an example, within Unite, we can often tell which players are more involved with the community of practice than others. Some players will just open up Unite, jump into a game, do whatever it is they want to do, and then turn off the game. Other players, likely everyone watching this video, involves themselves within the community through content or watching streams or playing with friends, and eventually we take in information and shift our gameplay toward the behaviors that have been developed within the community of practice. We understand that having thanks on the chat wheel is sarcastic, so people will often use it that way, even though that's not actually what the word thanks is supposed to mean. Members of the community of practice know that we shouldn't backcap at Ray, even though that's not a rule of the game and some believe the game itself actually encourages it. This is a practice called co-construction, where the community works together to construct the norms of the community we're in and the game we play. Going back to the GG controversy, different communities will co-construct different behaviors and rules surrounding the term GG due to the community of practice element of the game. GG versus GG's is a little different. GGWP is different from GGEZ. And eventually the community of practice develops a general understanding for what exactly a GG insinuates and how it should be used in context. In older games with older game communities like chess and StarCraft, GG is viewed as being sincere and sportsmanlike, so individuals familiar with these types of games who have been involved with a community of practice there may develop actions and behaviors surrounding GG as a sincere recognition. In MOBAs or similar games, GG has taken on a different life and is often viewed as ironic or sarcastic. Personally, I believe it has to do with the personalities of individuals who tend to play these more toxic types of games, which led to the development of more hostile communities of practice. That is a different topic, though. Basically, those who understand the norms of the community of practice we develop won't really have trouble adjusting to the way GG is used and adapting it for their own personal usage. Those who aren't as familiar with this discussion will struggle to understand why GG doesn't mean what it says it means. And those with strong opinions on the subject may try to change the behaviors of the community of practice, which can be seen as a bad thing to those who have already developed their behaviors within the existing community. So going by this logic, we are bound to have this discussion over and over again as people continue to learn and develop behaviors around their community of practice. Let's talk about another psychological theory. This one is called Politeness Theory, and I believe it's also very much at play here. This theory is centered on two concepts, positive face and negative face, and the idea that everyone possesses these two faces. The positive face is what we show when we desire to be loved or approved of. And the negative face is what we show when we want to act freely without being told what to do or how to act. According to this theory, when we communicate with each other, we're vetting other people for how they may threaten our positive and negative faces. If they threaten them, they are called face-threatening acts, and we attempt to mitigate them using politeness strategies. If people use GG, some may see that as reinforcing their positive face. It may also help to reinforce the positive face of the player offering the GG, where they feel good about acknowledging how well somebody did and gives them a sense of recognition and solidarity. However, if it's perceived as sarcasm or impolite, it could be a face-threatening act to both the positive and the negative faces. It attacks the positive face because it's not offering recognition or approval and is instead mocking them, and it attacks the negative face by potentially implying that they know better or are a better player than the person they're offering a GG to. It may also take on the form of a power dynamic. Players with a lot of confidence in themselves may try to assert dominance over another player by offering a GG. Players with lower confidence, or players who may be new to the game, may offer a GG as a way to try to relate to other players, or they may avoid using it to avoid potential social backlash. It can be viewed as a social hierarchy in a way. We try to figure out where we stand with other people or where our skill stands based on how GG is used by us or around us. For example, I only ever GG if I lose. And I have personal rules about GGing when this condition is met. You can fight me on this for being evil or whatever, but I will never GG somebody if I feel like I'm a better player than them, unless they show up in my chat or something and I'm just being nice. I'm literally never going out of my way to GG a worse player than me. If I lost the game, my ego is now hurt because I lost to a worse player, and I don't feel like they necessarily deserve the acknowledgement. However, I'll GG a better player than me when I lose, but I won't go out of my way to do it. I'll also always GG a friend if I lose to them. I'm protecting my own positive and negative faces by simultaneously recognizing other people for being better players than I am, and I'm protecting the autonomy I feel as a middle-of-the-road player. That's just the strategy I use. Some may seek more validation for their positive faces' need for recognition, so they may seek out validation from better players than them when they win. Some streamers may feel a stronger need to protect their negative face and view the use of GG by players less skilled than them as a face-threatening act and don't want to see it in their community. At the end of the day, the GG controversy will persist. People will fight tooth and nail for their right to use it in contexts they see fit, and others will fight equally as hard for protections against the use of GG. Reactions to GG come from one's own perception of Type 1 and Type 2 error, and their perception of politeness versus face-threatening acts. The decision to use or not to use GG comes from ethical positionality, and the behaviors one develops around the community of practice they are in. And this will change over time, and it will vary by community. I would love to know your opinions. How do you feel about the GG controversy? Please be nice people. The sources are, as always, in the source box. Please memorize the 10 commandments of GG before next week's quiz. And I will see you all next time. GG's!